When to speak up and when to let go, a guide for peace. Have you ever sat in a room full of people and felt invisible? Like your voice was floating in the air, unheard, unnoticed? Or maybe there was a moment when your heart told you to say something, but your gut whispered, let it go. And later, you were left wondering if you made the right call. You're not alone in that. The older we get, the more we realize life isn't always black and white. There's a quiet wisdom in knowing when to speak, and a deeper kind of strength in knowing when silence brings more peace than words ever could. But let's be honest, it's not always easy. Maybe your adult children made a decision you don't agree with, and every fiber in your body wants to jump in and offer advice. Or perhaps a friend said something that hurt you, but bringing it up feels like it might cause more damage than healing. These moments test us, don't they? Not just our patience, but our values, our priorities, and most of all, our peace of mind. That's what today's conversation is all about. Not just choosing between speaking or staying silent, but choosing what brings peace instead of regret. Because after 60, your peace should be sacred. And guarding it doesn't mean avoiding conflict, it means learning how to dance with it, gently. Let's start with this truth: not every battle deserves a warrior. Some situations only drain us if we step into them. Imagine this: you're having dinner with friends, and someone brings up a political topic you completely disagree with. Your blood starts to rise. You feel that familiar urge to jump in, to set the record straight. But then you pause. You look around and realize this moment isn't about winning an argument. It's about sharing a meal, laughter, warmth. So instead of speaking up, you smile politely, take another bite, and let the moment pass. In that silence, you didn't lose. You chose your joy over your ego. And that, my friend, is strength. Of course, there are times when staying quiet does hurt us. Times when something deep inside says, this isn't right. This needs to be said. Maybe it's when someone is crossing your boundaries. Or when someone makes a joke at your expense, brushing it off like it's harmless. In those moments, silence doesn't bring peace, it brings resentment. It builds up like steam in a pressure cooker, and eventually, it finds a way to explode. So how do we tell the difference? One way is to listen to the aftertaste. Think of it like this: after you've stayed silent, do you feel lighter or heavier? Do you feel like you honored yourself or abandoned yourself? That little feeling in your chest, the one that comes after the moment passes, that's your compass. It rarely lies. Let me tell you about Helen. She's 68, retired, and one of the kindest people you'll ever meet. For years, she bit her tongue whenever her daughter-in-law made little jabs at her, comments about her cooking, her old-fashioned ways, even how she babysat her grandkids. Helen told herself it wasn't worth the fuss. But over time, those tiny cuts added up. She started dreading family dinners. Her smile became more forced. And eventually, she felt like a stranger in her own family. One afternoon, after another dismissive remark, Helen took a deep breath and simply said, I know you may not mean it, but some of your words feel hurtful to me. I'd like us to have a more respectful relationship. It wasn't a confrontation. It wasn't loud. But it was honest and kind. And that one sentence changed everything. Her daughter-in-law was surprised, even a little embarrassed, but she softened. She apologized. And things began to shift. Sometimes, speaking up isn't about confrontation, it's about connection. It's about giving someone a chance to see you, hear you, and respect you in a deeper way. And sometimes, the person who needs to hear your voice is you. There's also this idea many of us grew up with, that being nice means staying quiet, not making waves. But kindness without honesty can become a trap. It teaches people how to ignore our needs. And the older we get, the more important it becomes to show up as our full selves, not just a polite version that fits neatly into everyone else's expectations. So how do we find the balance? One small practice is this: before speaking, ask yourself, is it kind? Is it necessary? And will it bring peace or just pride? If your words are born from love and truth, not just ego or the need to be right, then you're likely on the right path. And when you decide not to speak, don't feel like you gave up. You chose peace. And choosing peace doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Let's carry this forward and explore more ways to protect that peace by knowing which words are worth saying and which moments are best left in quiet understanding. There's something beautiful that happens when you stop reacting to everything. The world begins to feel quieter, not because the noise disappears, but because you no longer feel the need to answer to it all. That's what we're stepping into now, learning how to protect your emotional energy by knowing which moments deserve your voice and which ones don't even deserve your breath. Let's talk about one of the trickiest situations, when someone you love is doing something that you believe will hurt them in the long run, but they won't listen. Maybe it's your grown-up son spending beyond his means. Or a friend getting into yet another toxic relationship. And you see it coming like a slow-motion car crash. Everything inside you wants to jump in, to shake them and say, "Can't you see what you're doing?" But here's the truth. At a certain point in life, advice that's not asked for feels like control. And even the best intentions can come across as judgment. So the question becomes, do you want to be right, or do you want to stay connected? A woman I met once, Carol, 72, gentle and wise, told me about her daughter, who kept quitting jobs, drifting through life. Carol used to call her constantly, offering advice, giving her tough love. It always ended in fights. Then, one day, she tried something different. She listened. She said just one thing, "I'm here when you're ready." That was it. No lectures. No shame. And it took time, almost a year, but her daughter eventually came back, asking for help. This time, not as a rebellious child, but as an adult who finally felt safe being vulnerable. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means creating space. And sometimes, that space is the very thing that invites someone back in. Now, let's turn the mirror inward. How often do we speak harshly, not to others, but to ourselves? We replay that one conversation we wish we handled differently. We beat ourselves up for not setting boundaries sooner. We whisper things like, "I should have known better," or "I'm too old to change." That voice inside you, that inner critic, it can be louder than any argument. And learning when to silence that voice is just as powerful as learning when to speak to others. Imagine treating yourself like you treat a dear friend. Would you say to them the things you say to yourself? Would you look at someone you love and say, "You're a failure," or "You always mess things up," or "You're too much"? Of course not. So why do we let those words live rent-free in our own minds? Sometimes, letting go isn't about other people. It's about the thoughts we've carried for too long, thoughts that don't serve us anymore. One way to gently shift this is by practicing what I like to call a pause of grace. The next time something upsets you, whether it's a comment from a family member, a news headline, or your own inner chatter, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, does this deserve my peace? And be honest. Because your peace is precious. You've earned it. Don't give it away cheaply. There's a quiet power in this kind of restraint. It's not about bottling things up. It's about becoming a careful curator of your own emotional world. Choosing your responses like a gardener picks which flowers to water and which weeds to remove. And there's one more layer to all of this. Forgiveness. Not always for others, but for yourself. For the times you stayed silent when you wish you had spoken. For the times you spoke too soon or too sharply. For the moments when you tried your best, and it still wasn't enough. That kind of grace toward yourself, is the doorway to peace. You see, learning when to speak up and when to let go isn't a skill you master once. It's a daily dance. Some days, you'll get it wrong. Other days, you'll surprise yourself with how calm and clear you can be. But every day, you have a choice. The older we get, the more life invites us to simplify, not just our homes, but our hearts. To carry less bitterness. To cling less tightly to control. To speak only when it adds value. And to let go when holding on is just another form of suffering. There's this beautiful quote I heard once: speak the truth, but not to punish. That's what real peace looks like. Saying what needs to be said, but with compassion. And staying silent not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Because sometimes, peace isn't something you find, it's something you protect. Let's keep exploring how we can guard that peace, especially in those moments when it feels most under threat. Let's talk about the final steps to mastering this gentle art of discernment, of knowing when your voice brings healing, and when your silence holds more love than words ever could. There's something sacred about silence, when it's chosen, not forced. It becomes a boundary. A line drawn with love, not anger. But that kind of silence can only exist when we've already done the work of understanding our own heart. You see, knowing when to speak and when to let go isn't about walking on eggshells or pretending things don't hurt. It's about being honest with yourself. Are you speaking because you want to connect, or because you want to correct? Are you holding back because you're wise, or because you're afraid? That's the true art, tuning into your intention before you open your mouth. Because the words we speak can either build bridges or burn them. And the moments we stay silent can either offer peace or plant seeds of regret. The difference lies in knowing why we choose what we choose. Let me share a story with you. There's a man named Arthur, 74 years old, who told me about a fight he once had with his brother. They hadn't spoken in over 2 years. The argument had started small, about something as silly as a borrowed lawnmower, but pride had turned it into something much bigger. Arthur said, every time I thought about calling him, I'd get mad all over again. I kept waiting for him to say sorry first. But one morning, Arthur woke up and felt something shift. He said he looked in the mirror and asked himself, if I got a call today that he was gone, what would I wish I'd done? That question stayed with him all day. So he picked up the phone. No grand speech. No blaming. Just 6 words, I miss you. Let's talk, okay? And they did. They talked for hours. Laughed. Even cried. Turns out, his brother had been waiting too, just as stubborn, just as hurt. That call changed everything. Not because Arthur won, but because he chose peace over pride. Sometimes, speaking up is about closing the distance, not winning the debate. And sometimes, letting go is the kindest thing we can do for ourselves, not because the other person deserves it, but because we do. Letting go doesn't mean you agree with what happened. It means you're no longer willing to carry the pain of it. It means you're done dragging the weight of that moment into every new day. It means you're ready to live lighter. And speaking up? It doesn't always require a confrontation. Sometimes it sounds like, that hurt me. Or I need something different. Or simply, no, not with bitterness, not with fury, but with clarity. With love. With the quiet strength that comes from knowing your voice matters, even if it shakes a little. As you grow older, you begin to see how rare true peace really is. Not the kind that comes from silence in a room, but the kind that comes from not needing to be anyone but yourself. From not needing every disagreement resolved, or every wound avenged. You begin to understand that some things are better healed privately. Some things are better spoken with gentleness. And some things, well, some things are better left to time, prayer, or simply the wind. Because peace isn't passive. It's active. It's choosing, over and over again, not to let the world pull you into chaos. It's choosing not to be ruled by anger, fear, or the need to always be right. It's choosing to show up as your best self, even when the world isn't doing the same. And in that choice, there is freedom. So if you're watching this, and you've been holding something inside, ask yourself, what do I need more? To be heard, or to be healed? The answer might surprise you. Sometimes, speaking your truth is the beginning of healing. And sometimes, the silence you keep is your way of letting the pain go. Either way, you are allowed to choose. You are allowed to grow. And you are allowed to put your peace first. Thank you for sharing this space with me today. If this message touched you in any way, I hope you'll share your thoughts in the comments. Maybe there's a story of your own that's been waiting to be told. Or maybe, this is the quiet reminder you needed to make that call, speak that truth, or finally, let it go. If you found comfort or clarity in this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more heartfelt conversations just like this one. You deserve content that respects where you are in life, your wisdom, your stories, your peace. Here's to you, and the beautiful power of knowing when to speak, and when to simply breathe, smile, and carry on. Because after all these years, isn't that what real freedom looks like?